But let me first read to you about the personhood in Alito's opinion. He writes, our opinion is not based on any view about if and when prenatal life is entitled to any of the rights enjoyed after birth. The dissent, by contrast, would impose on the people a particular theory about when the rights of personhood begin. According to the dissent, the Constitution requires the states to regard a fetus as lacking even the most basic human right to live, at least until an arbitrary point in pregnancy has passed. That arbitrary point, by the way, is viability, right, which is a made-up thing. It's when the baby can supposedly survive outside the womb. But of course, all of us at times need help to survive outside the womb. So when is viability really? And, it's a moving target, and it's not actually a philosophical line having anything to do with personhood, right? So there's nothing in the Constitution or in our nation's legal traditions authorizes the court to adopt that theory of life. And there's a way in which this is beautiful, and then there's a way in which, to me, it is sadly lacking, right? The beautiful thing is to deny this evil Blackmun ruling that these aren't people, right? This unpersoning of the babies. What he's saying is we're just not taking any stance. The Constitution doesn't say what a person is, doesn't define a person. It just takes for granted that there are people and that, as the Declaration says, they are endowed with certain inalienable rights, right? And then it enumerates some of those rights and it leaves others unenumerated, right? But Alito is saying, so therefore, since our job is to interpret the Constitution, we are not tasked with the job, therefore, of saying what a person is, what that word person means. And Kavanaugh's concurrence kind of goes further in this direction. He says, abortion is a profoundly difficult and contentious issue because it presents an irreconcilable conflict between the interests of a pregnant woman who seeks an abortion and the interests in protecting fetal life. The interests on both sides of the abortion issue are extraordinarily weighty. On the one side, many pro-choice advocates forcefully argue that the ability to obtain an abortion is critically important for women's professional and personal lives and for women's health. They contend that the widespread ability of abortion has been essential for women to advance in society and to achieve greater equality over the last 50 years, and they maintain that women must have the freedom to choose for themselves whether to have an abortion. On the other side, many pro-life advocates forcefully argue that a fetus is a human life. They contend that all human life should be protected as a matter of human dignity and fundamental morality, and they stress that a significant percentage of Americans with pro-life views are women. When it comes to abortion, one interest must prevail over the other at any given point in a pregnancy. Now, I want to pause here, right? Because, again, these Supreme Court justices are being totally diplomatic, totally agnostic on this question of personhood. And I'm going to get in a little later into why that might be, whether this is really what they believe or whether this is just how far they thought they could go at this time. But fundamentally, right, when Kavanaugh outlines the pro-abortion, the pro-choice cause, right, he lists all of these other interests that might weigh against the life of the baby. And this is Blackmun did this too, right? The economic interests, the personal and professional lives. It might be distressing to have a baby, right? Women's health is a slightly different one because you could get in there to issues of life of the mother. But all of these other interests, right? If it's a person, they don't matter. Now, it's not that those things don't matter, full stop. It matters that women should have, free lives. It matters that women should have, economic fulfillment and stability, and all those things matter, right? But can you think of any other instance in which you would say, my economic interest outweighs your personhood, right? If the baby is a person, then you certainly can't kill him for any of the reasons that are typically listed. And that's why things like the right to privacy are so irrelevant, right? You say, well, the right to woman has autonomy over her own body, has a right to privacy. Literally nobody denies that. There's literally no one out there being like rubbing his hands together saying, I want to take away women's right to privacy. That's what I want. I don't think women should have privacy. I don't think that women should have right to control their own bodies, right? What the pro-life side is saying is you have all of those rights, right? But they don't cancel out the right of any other person to live, right? And so you can't extinguish a human life within your body simply because of all these other things that you choose to gain. And down that road, madness lies, right? And this is why the personhood issue is the heart of the abortion question. There's really nothing else to be discussing here.